Hey guys, welcome back. Tonight I'm wanting to do a little bit of experimentation. For a while now, I've had an Atomstack, a little tripod looking unit that it's a P9 M40, I believe it is. And when I got the Atomstack, it came with this cool little controller here. I never used the controller a whole lot, but I did figure out how to put files on an SD card, transfer them over to a machine and burn them using this controller, not having to have a laptop. And that's pretty handy with the little Atomstack, but my only beef with the machine is, you know, for one, it's only like a 5.5 watt machine. So I've got another machine though that has a port that this controller will plug into, but it's made by a different manufacturer, so I wasn't sure if it would work or not. Well, tonight I'm going to experiment and see if this little Atomstack controller will operate the other machine, and if so, how well does it work? So just going to be a little experimentation tonight, guys. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around for a few minutes and we're going to get over here and test the theory. All right, guys, this is the machine that I'm wanting to test it with. And I know what you're thinking at first glance is this machine looks remarkably like an Atomstack. And that was what got me to thinking that maybe this Atomstack controller might work with it because structurally and where the buttons are, just everything about this machine just kind of screams Atomstack. So what I wanted to do was to see if, in fact, this controller would work with it. And I'm trying to get the machine to where I can see it, so hang on just a second. Let me move you guys around here and kind of tilt this camera down. There we go. So if you notice right here on the side of this controller, it's got the same port. Now this machine did not come with a controller when I got it. And so I was kind of, you know, a little surprised that it had the port, but then I had the Atomstack, like I said, the P9 M40. It's a lot smaller machine, but with it having the same HDMI port, I figured, you know, why not? I would give it a try. So the one thing that I will say is it does plug in there, and when you power the machine on, you get the tone and you get the little splash screen comes up, and there it goes. The only problem that I did encounter when I first powered this thing up, guys, was that when it first came up, it was in Chinese. And as you know, here in Alabama, not many of us speak Chinese. Luckily, I was able to just click randomly through the settings on it until I did see the little gear, so I knew that was the settings, and I was able to click through there. And when you click settings, the next, like there's two little drop-down boxes, and it just so happened I found language, and I saw English, and so I was able to get it swapped over to English. That was the only problem that I had. But I've got it set up now, and I've got it working. So the machine, you can actually frame with the machine, you can home with the machine. This machine does have limit switches. That's kind of nice. So when you home, it'll tell you homing successful. Then you can frame. It'll run out there, and it's gonna do a quick frame of the burn. And I did this a minute ago just to kind of test the theory, and that's what I got on this material here. Kind of a gold looking engrave. But what I'm going to do now is I want to take and I'm going to find me another piece of material. This is some cedar, and I'm going to run this thing out there and frame again just so that I can kind of cheat and place my material where it needs to be in order to make this burn. Because I'm not using light burn, I don't have a camera. That's about the best way I can come up with, is just to frame and place my material accordingly. And of course I'm going to have to wear the glasses because I do not have it in an enclosure, because I wanted this to kind of be a little more visible. So once I got it framed up, like I said, I'm not trying to get it to be exact, but what I am going to do is I'm just going to run it right there. It looked like the logo got onto the material. When you hit the button that asks how many passes, I'm just going to leave it at 1 and hit yes. So the functionality of the remote seems to be working pretty well with the machine. It's not as easy to center graphics and stuff like that using this controller. I will say that it's kind of a very very simplistic way of doing designs. I do like this approach, however, better than I do with some of the applications and stuff like that, because the way you come up with the files on these machines, if you have one of these machines that has a controller, whether it's a Atomstack or, like I said, the Enjoywood, apparently it's capable of the same thing. This is the Enjoywood CEL-10. I've had this thing for a while. I've used it on a few jobs when I needed like all hands on deck. It does a pretty decent job. I mean, it's a 10 watt. The only downside is it doesn't have air assist, but it does a pretty good job, even considering it doesn't have air assist. But the way that you go about it is you have to open up Lightburn and you have to create the file. And then once you create the file in Lightburn, you save the G code and you just simply save it to the little micro SD card. And when you save it to that card, insert the card into the machine, and you'll actually have all of the files that are on this card to select from on the controller. And then you can just click one of those files and tell it to burn. Now, you can go in here and you can take your time and align it a little bit better. And I'm gonna have to open a door or something because this is getting smoky in here with this cedar. But once you get it aligned, you just simply hit run and it'll run. And this machine is completely offline from any other devices. I'm just using this controller and I've got the power plugged in here. So I'm gonna let that burn. I'm gonna open up a door and let some of the smoke out because I don't have it in an enclosure. The cedar is starting to generate a lot of smoke. So I'll be right back once this completes. All right, guys, here's the burn. It did smoke the place up a little bit, so I had to open the door and let it air for a little bit, but that's the cedar. And as you can see, it's got some really clean cuts, and that's being run just from a G-code file on this machine. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put me a piece of plywood up here, and because my plywood is slightly larger than my little cutting area, I'm gonna have to refocus the machine to get it to the right depth here. So I'm just going to slide that up on there. The way this one focuses is just like the Atomstack. So you're going to have to open that and then put this little plate under there and tighten that back down. Once you do that, it's focused. All right. So I'm going to take the remote and I'm going to go to carve. This is going to be a 6x4 box. That's one of my designs that I have. And I'm going to home it just to make sure that the machine is back where it needs to be. It's going to tell me that homing succeeded, and I'm going to say yes. Then I'm going to frame just to make sure that where this thing's planning on cutting is in the work area. So I'm going to move my workpiece down a little bit. I do know, because I built this file, that it will fit on a 16x16. So I'm just going to let that frame. Not really impressed with the framing speed. Using the controller, I haven't played with it to see if I can turn that up or not. But right now, it's painfully slow on the framing process. But I'm gonna let that frame out. And like I said, if I use this remote with this machine much, I will definitely be looking into speeding the frame up just a little bit. It looks as though my material may have a little bit of a hump to it over there on that side. So I think I'm going to cheat the focus up just a little to make sure that it doesn't impact the work surface. One thing about this machine is the way it's built. The shield is kind of in place. You can't take it off to give yourself any extra clearance or anything. So you just got to make sure when you're doing these pieces like this that you've got plenty of room on the focus to allow a little bit of tilt. So got that back on there. All right, so now what I'm going to do now is I am going to hit the center button, and it's going to move out to the center of the design, just showing you some of the navigation on this thing. All right, and now I'm going to hit start, and this is a cut file. And I do know that this material for a 10-watt machine is going to take about 4 passes, typically. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to hit the how many passes. I'm going to move that up to 4, and then I'm going to hit yes. And it should begin to cut this design out. Now this is going to take a little while, So I'm gonna just let this thing run. It's gonna be 4 passes, and I'll check back shortly. All right, guys, the machine is now on the 3rd pass going around this material, and you're starting to see some drops. I've got this piece here that's trying to drop out. The lack of air assist is one of the downfalls to this machine, is the fact that it does not have an air assist, nor does it have a method of attaching one. And the way this is built, it would be a little bit of a challenge to get one in there. Now, I do know that from looking at this machine, it is very similar to other machines on the market. So, I mean, if you have another machine, maybe you could get a different head with the air assist. That might be something that was a viable option. But altogether, like I said, 4 passes is what it takes most any 10-watt machine that I've tested to cut this material and cut it smoothly. Now, the speed that I set it at in light burn is the speed that it is using, which is typically around 6 to 7 millimeters per second, depending on the machine, whether or not I have air assist or not. If I don't have air assist, I tend to run it a little faster just to kind of prevent any kind of flame up issues. But it does have a cone built into the head that kind of acts as a makeshift air assist. It's pretty good about keeping flames down because this fan is pretty powerful and it blows a steady stream of air that way. But it's just not quite up to what you would get out of an actual air assist that's designed to penetrate air down through the cut. So it's getting there. I'm not sure if it's going to need the 4th pass or not. Like I said, this piece has partially dropped on 3 passes. So I may have some parts fall on 3, but depending on the wood and some of the variations in the grain and all of that, it may indeed need the full 4 passes. So I'm just going to let that run for a little while. Like I said, nothing too fast here, but it will get it done eventually. All right, after 4 passes, I'm going to go ahead and see how the thing is done. Just another demonstration here. I am going to send the machine, hopefully, send the machine to the other end down here and just move it around using this controller. It will not let you hold it. It kind of times out. Just to get it out of the way. But after 4 passes, most of the parts, it appeared, dropped. So I'm just going to try to pull this out and see what we got here. I got maybe 1 or 2 little snags on that piece. Nothing the little tap didn't take care of. But this is a 4.5 millimeter Luan, and this is the stuff that everybody loves to talk bad about, but I have made a bunch of stuff with it and I've always had pretty good luck. All right, guys, the next remote functionality I'm going to go over with this machine is using the interface on the IP address of the machine. And the way you accomplish that is you will connect to the Wi-Fi that the machine creates. Then you go into your phone settings and it will show you the IP address under your Wi-Fi connections of the machine. Now, from my experience, that's 192.168.4.1 is pretty common among these lasers. Then once you do that, you get this application. And this application you can use to move the machine in any manner in which you want to move it. One thing I did learn is when you click the arrow, it moves it for a set distance, and then you can unclick the arrow if you want it to stop. You also have the option of using the home feature as well as position. This open light and close light is to turn the laser on and then turn the laser off. Kind of a pointer. So that's on and that's off. And that would be helpful when you're trying to align your project or whatnot. There's some other things that you can do with this as well. So here we go with the SD card files. You're going to click SD up there in the options, and this interface is a little buggy, so you have to kind of click over here to get out of it. I'm going to select the Clack Shack logo, and then you're going to go down here, and this is the frame. And once you send this is going to frame the design. And so you just hit send on there. Now it's going to frame it out. And when it does so, it'll show you where the design is going to be. I don't know if you can see it or not, but the laser is activated and acting as a pointer. It should go to the center of the workspace, make the frame, and then come back. I'm going to use this same piece of wood so as to not waste any more. All right, I'm going to send it one more time just to make sure I did place my wood appropriately, since I was a little slow with getting the wood under there. So it's framing now. That is where the logo is going to go. All right, so I'm gonna close that. And now you've got a start button right here. And I'm just gonna hit that start button and it's gonna send my logo to the machine. But that is operating it from the application on your phone. You can do the same thing using any web browser, whether it be a phone, a tablet, computer, or whatever you have, as long as it has Wi-Fi. It doesn't even have to be a working phone. You could technically have a phone in your shop that you use to control these machines, as long as it has Wi-Fi access and an internet browser. So that's two different ways that you can control this machine. And of course you have the USB connection as well that you can use to power it through Lightburn or whatnot. And with the addition of the controller, you really don't have to have a device to connect wirelessly. I think these things are kind of going the way of the cassette tape, because with applications and with Wi-Fi in the machines now, it's just as simple to let you use the your smartphone or your tablet, as opposed to having to try to keep up with this little guy and have a wire connected to it. So, but that just gives you an idea, guys, of some of the different ways that you can control these machines. All right, guys, I got that second burn done, and I'm just going to kind of go back and recap. This was the first burn that I did before I started the camera, just to get the machine out, and it's been hanging on the wall for a little while, so I wanted to make sure that everything was good with it. Got that kind of a gold bronze color on it. Well, then this is the last one that I did, and if you notice, that gold and bronze color is only on part of the wood. The rest actually burned dark. That's a problem with this wood that I was having when I bought it. And the only reason I got this wood was because they were out of the stuff that I normally would use, and that's why I use it for like test pieces and such. And this guy's going in the burn pile. So the Cedar, which I think is the true test of a machine, because that is before I sanded it. And hang on, let me grab my handy new sander here. Loving this guy. It's got no wires. And it's a lot quieter than my other machine was. All right, a little light sanding, and that's what it looks like. And I'm going to walk over to the air hose and hit it. And if you're not using compressed air to clean your engraves, guys, you're missing it. All right, there is the final burn on a piece of Eastern Red Cedar. That is a pretty awesome color. Cedar is my favorite wood to engrave on. I use it for when I do portraits and stuff like that. And I use it on a lot of the specialty stuff that I do, as far as like scenic stuff and decorations for interior houses. And of course I cut this on the sawmill, and so it's cheap. If you went to try to buy a 1/4-inch cedar, guys, it's probably pretty expensive, but when you cut your own, it makes a big difference. So that's all I got for tonight. I had several people had messaged me in the past month or so and said they had the Enjoywood, or they had some of the other machines that can be controlled remotely and didn't quite understand how it worked. And so I just want to kind of knock this video out to show you and kind of demonstrate to you what you can do with the machines. There's also some other folks out there that are looking at getting machines and had asked me about the Enjoywood and if I still liked it and that type of thing. For a 10-watt diode machine, it does what a 10-watt diode does. Now, it doesn't have air assist, and so there is a limitation with that. Without the air assist, I think this thing's kind of missing out on a little bit of extra power from the air assist, but it does a good job. The machine is a sturdy frame. It's very similar to some of the other machines that are on the market that are a little more higher priced than it is. I have customized this one slightly with the drag chain just because cable management was kind of bugging me with the machine. So I did that to kind of clean that up, and so far it has worked well. It's just a cheap drag chain that I grabbed off Amazon and kind of put it on there using zip ties just to have something to kind of keep those cables going where I want them to. But I will drop the links to the stuff in the description if you're interested. Keep in mind, this does not come with the Enjoywood machine. This is off of my Atomstack, the little P90 M40 that I have. I've been wanting to test it to see if it would work with this machine because it looks so much like an Atomstack. I felt like the chances were pretty good that it would work, and I have confirmed my suspicions that the Atomstack controller will work with it. So if you have a smaller or older Atomstack and you have the controller and you have the Enjoywood, then at least now you know that you can use it. You will have to overcome the language settings on it, but if you'll just keep clicking through there, it finally shows up to where you can tell what it is, even if you don't speak Chinese. So, but that's all I was going to do for tonight, guys. I just came out here wanting to kind of play around with that. I had some other stuff I was working on the computer. I will, like I said, drop some links. If you haven't already, guys, hit the subscribe button. Trying to hit that 6,000 before the new year. That is my new goal. I had set my goal at 5,000, but we've made it to 5, and so now I've got to have a new goal to keep my momentum going here. And so the new goal is 6,000. So if you can help me with that, hit that subscribe button on the way out. And until next time, guys, as always, be safe and have a good day.